Hey, my name is Cynthia Abear, and I'm going to be going over the PowerPoint Extreme Makeover for the class Organizational and Systems Leadership for the Advanced Practice Nurse. This is just the table of contents going over the introductions and the slides I will be teaching you today. The introduction and the outcome for this PowerPoint is to tell you of a recent miscommunication I have had with someone at work. I share this experience for this to not happen again to another nurse. Effective communication in the workplace is extremely important, and I hope that with this PowerPoint you can take that and have better conversations with people you work with as well. Poor communication in the workplace is very common, and I've personally experienced this. One day I was at work and at the cardiac ICU. I was about to get a sick patient from the cath lab. The patient had to go emergently to the cath lab to get an intra-aortic balloon pump paced. The cath lab team brought the patient up without giving any report. The patient also had a Swan scans catheter placed in cath lab. I was told that the patient did not receive any medications during the procedure. I tried to ask the nurse further questions, but he did not answer. I asked the nurse where the Swan scans catheter was placed so I would know if the placement had changed. The nurse could not answer any of my questions, and most of the questions I asked, he would just turn his head and look away. I asked if there were any stents placed during the procedure, and the nurse did not answer that question either. Every question I had, it was just ignored, or he just did not know the answer. It was a very frustrating situation for me and the other nurses that were in the room helping me. The nurse and the tech that were with the patient that brought them up left. I was very overwhelmed and confused, so I did call the doctor to get further clarifications on what I was supposed to be doing with this patient. The patient was also supposed to be on a heparin drip that was not started or did not have when she was brought up to the unit. I think this poor communication between the nurse and me occurred because he was not fully prepared to give me this patient. He had not prepared a report of any kind or had not went through the questions that I might have asked and been ready to go over those with me. This nurse had also had other issues with people I work with and have had poor communication with them as well. Some variables that influenced the situation that we had. He did not give me a verbal or written report at all. The cath lab nurse was there late. It was around 7 p.m. and he was ready to go home, so he was in a rush to get out the door. The nurse failed to answer any of my questions that I had about the patient. This is some of the coworkers I work with in the cardiac ICU. We are a very close-knit group. I love these people very much. And you can just tell from the picture that we do love each other. We do care a lot about each other. Like I said, we are a very close-knit group in the cardiac ICU. We often go out for activities outside of work. We did just go to Topgolf for my birthday and out to dinner for my birthday a few weekends ago. And during that time, we talk about work. We also talk about our personal lives and any issues we have there. When we do talk about work, we try to talk about our issues and ways that we can resolve them. Organization as conversation refers to effective communication within an organization. These conversations are crucial for a workplace to be successful. One example of that within my workplace is that I'm always able to go to my charge nurse when I have an issue. My charge nurse and I have great communication. We're able to go through problems quickly, and we have no issues communicating our problems to one another. Also, we have our nurse manager that is there during the day and available for day or night shift to get in touch with her with no issues. Patterns of relating and patterns of meaning. So patterns of meaning are ideas that are shared within a unit. I think in the cardiac ICU, we do share a lot of the same passion and love for our patients. Our unit has several daisy nurses, and that is just a reflection of how much we do care and love our patients. Grandview's mission statement is to provide quality health care with kindness and clinical excellence. personalized through faith and compassion. I personally have seen myself, and other nurses pray with patients and love them and get close to them and their families. We really do love our patients and care for them, and I think we show that very well. And I think we all share that pattern of meaning within our unit. Patterns of relating, or how people relate to one another. I also think we do this very well in our unit because we are typically one and the same. We think the same way. We always try to put our patient first. My boss is very good at helping us when we have a crisis or a bad patient or sick patient comes on the unit. She is always there to help. Innovation is bringing about new ideas into the workplace. Innovative leaders formulate cultures who have strong relationships and bring about change. On our unit especially, I think we are very open to giving our ideas for creative new ways to do things. We as nurses are on the forefront of taking care of these patients, so we see the problems very well, and we are able to communicate those with our boss. We also meet with our Impella reps very frequently, and we just discuss with them an idea to have a written report from the cath lab when they bring up an Impella patient. This was discussed after the issue that I had with the nurse from cath lab. So with the report sheet that we would have, it would have what medications they were given during the procedure, where's the Impella placed, orders that they need to be doing for the patient, who did the procedure, just all of that within the report sheet, so when we get that patient, we know exactly what has gone on. So to change the conversation and make it better, we did an extreme makeover for the conversation that I had with the cath lab nurse. One day I was at work in the cardiac ICU. I was about to get a sick patient from the cath lab. The patient had to emergently go to the cath lab to get an intra-aortic balloon pump placed. The patient also had a Swan scans catheter placed during that procedure. The nurse from the cath lab called me on the phone to give me a report before they brought the patient up. He updated me on the patient's condition, told me all the events that occurred during the procedure. The nurse told me where the Swan scans catheter was placed so that I would know if there was any changes throughout the shift. The nurse and I have developed a pattern of relating. We communicate better because we have established this pattern. We both work at Grandview and have a pattern of meaning. We share the value of wanting to provide quality and competent care for our patients. The nurse answered all of my questions that I had about the patient. I did not have to call the physician for clarification on any orders because the nurse answered my questions thoroughly. The nurse brought the patient to the room. The patient matched the report that the nurse gave me completely. Her communication was effective, and the patient benefited because of it. So in conclusion, with proper communication styles, the work relationship is better, the patient benefits from the outcome, and we are just able to provide better care for our patient, fully knowing what's going on with them. And those are my references, and that concludes this PowerPoint, and I hope you've learned how to communicate better within the workplace. Thank you.